Welcome back to The Third Take. My name is Taha.
My name is Lubaba, and we are reporting live from the campaign headquarters of Kate Dupuis. Hello.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about who Kate is and what you're doing here and what I'm doing here?
Kate is my latest favorite boss. See, she's a Taurus. I'm a Libra. We're both Venusians. We vibe. But I'm one of Kate's staffers, and today we'd love to get to know the person behind the candidate. We'd love to get to know what brought you to politics, what enticed you to run, what is it that, sets you apart in your leadership style from other candidates?
Well, I've always been involved in bringing people together from high school and student government, when I was in grad school at U of T, organizing that way, at my kids' school on the parent council. But it was really during COVID that I saw how effectively a small group of people working very grassroots with a common shared goal and cause could actually push for and affect real change, real meaningful change for their community. And I did that actually with the support of the Ontario NDP, with caucus members, and really felt myself drawn to the values of this particular party and wanted to see whether I could try my hand in the political arena. It's not necessarily something that I had ever seen myself doing. I'm a clinical neuropsychologist by training. I'm a college professor.
Casual.
Yeah, just
little drop there.
But I just really, it just feels like a very natural place for me to be. And connecting with folks, listening to what's going on with people, and really trying to center their needs. That, I think, is what sets me apart. I think from my perspective, what we have the opportunity here in Ontario to do now with Doug Ford calling this election early is to finally bring the power back to us, the people, and to say what are the actual issues, the commonalities, the concerns that are happening with constituents, and how can we actually push for change to address those, because people are struggling. People are having a really hard time, and our government, our current government, doesn't seem to be aware of that, or if they are aware, they just don't care.
So you mentioned that Doug Ford has called an early election. For any of our viewers that might not know, or listeners that might not know, when was the Ontario election supposed to take place?
Well, the next election here in Ontario was supposed to take place in June 2026.
Yep.
And not February 2025. So this is actually, I believe, the first time a provincial election has been held in the winter since 1883 here in Ontario. So 141 years ago. Because we have rules in our province, and we have dates and schedules, and Doug Ford has decided to just rip those up and do his own thing.
I mean, it's almost like he's foreshadowing what era he wants to take us back to. Not to be overly dramatic, but I mean, since the 1800s, that's wow. Well, moving on to the issues that are affecting, and you mentioned that you really got involved in your community. Well, you've always been involved, but specifically more involved with the NDP caucus in your community since COVID pandemic. So what are one issue or some of the issues that you think really matter to the constituents of Beaches East York, and how would you want to address those issues?
That's such a good question, and really that's what a campaign is all about. It's just getting out there, being in the community, talking to as many people as you possibly can. That could be on the phone. We try and get to the door, just chatting with folks. We met someone today at the street corner, Woodbine and Danforth. We had a great chat with someone just there. And there are a lot of things that are top of mind to people in Beaches East York. Obviously, Donald Trump's threats against the Canadian people, this idea of tariffs, that is coming up at the door. People are feeling very uncertain.
Life is so expensive now.
Yes, life is so expensive, and just thinking of it getting even more expensive for a lot of folks, they just don't understand how they're going to be able to make ends meet.
So when you are talking to people in Beaches East York, what is one or two issues that come up that people really care about, and what are your plans to address these issues?
That's such a great question, and absolutely, it's such an honor actually to just show up at someone's door, knock knock, I'm Kate Dupuis, I'm here, election's coming, can I count on your support? People are so open and generous with sharing their concerns with us. Some of the things we're hearing at the door, people are really worried about Trump's tariffs and what that will mean. Life is already so unaffordable for so many across our province, here in our riding. Food is so expensive. The thought of prices increasing is really unmanageable, right, for so many people. People are struggling to find affordable housing, secure housing in the neighborhoods where they want to live. people who are living on Ontario Works, Ontario Disability, they are not being provided with enough funds from the government. They can't even afford a home, right? People who are living on ODSP, it's roughly $1,300, $1,400 a month. That's less than the average price of an apartment here in Toronto. How are you supposed to thrive in life if you can't even afford a secure and safe place to sleep?
I mean, that's just cruel.
Exactly.
That's for somebody that's disabled and they're a member of our society and should be taken care of, and they're getting $1,300 a month, which
roughly, and
you
there's
can't
all
even,
sorts of
you can't even get a
clawbacks,
roommate in many areas.
And if you have a partner, there's actually clawbacks from the government. It actually kind of disincentivizes people, and unfortunately, our current premier doesn't understand this, right? He went on TV a few days ago and said people who are on ODSP, they're just staying home and they're watching the Flintstones. A very topical.
First of all, Dougie, my man, who was watching the Flintstones?
Literally.
The 90s kids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Anyway.
it's just so insulting and rude,
Absolutely.
right?
Like, if someone can barely afford a home, anyways, all that to say, it's really important that we have concrete plans in order to address these issues. What are the plans? What are the pieces that you and the Ontario NDP really want to put forward in order to actually do something about this?
So I think a lot of what our plans revolve around health. Right? So housing is a social determinant of health. Having a basic income, right? Doug Ford, when he came into office, he canceled our universal basic income pilot. We know it's going to work. Having secure employment, having secure funding coming in every month to help you live and thrive. All of this will contribute to the health and well-being of our population, because health is actually such an important piece. We're also hearing a lot about healthcare, concerns about the erosion of public healthcare. Obviously, our party, the NDP, historically has such a strong history of fighting for and supporting public health care. People in Ontario want a government that they can trust, who will prioritize healthcare. As a healthcare professional myself, I know how crucial it is to fund healthcare, and not just healthcare for our bodies. We need to support mental health care, vision care, dental benefits, hearing care. All of these are pieces of that holistic
care. So your
care
campaign is you want every single part of the human to have good health.
I know. Wow,
that's so radical.
Don't tell anyone. We called a radical.
Oh my God, the woke left are ruining our world. Truly.
Really?
How dare you want people to be able to hear?
Yeah, I know. Well, and it's all connected too, because of course the healthcare system isn't just what's happening in primary care or acute care. It's also community-based health. It's also home health. It's also long-term care. All of these are areas that unfortunately Doug Ford, over the last 7 years of his cruel cuts and bad deals and poor decision making, he has been eroding. And these are the services that Ontarians rely on, that Ontarians trust will be there when they need it. And our party, the Ontario NDP, is extremely focused on preserving these public institutions, these public services that we have all relied on and that we need. Our party has such a strong history of being there for the people and making sure that we're providing resources and supports for everyone, regardless of income bracket, regardless of where you live, if it's Speech is East York, if it's other ridings, making sure that we preserve these public institutions that we all need and rely on.
And then how are you going to actually fix these issues?
It's a great question, because there are a number of places where we can start. First, of course, is to support folks who are living on OW and ODSP, doubling what they're receiving every month to ensure that they have a better shot at being able to not just scrape by, but actually live it's terrible. Okay, I'm going to just start over.
That's okay.
Okay, that's a great question, and I think there's so many wonderful places we can start. One thing that our party has announced, of course, is the doubling of OW and ODSP payments, focusing on hiring physicians, improving staffing ratios for nurses, patient to staffing ratios, hiring more nurses. One thing that I would really fight for as an MPP is really approaching the healthcare system from what we call a person-centered care approach. So rather than the more traditional medicalized model of care, which of course historically has been sort of the dominant model, really going back to the individuals and ensuring that they are, as the knowledge holders of their own health and well-being, that they are being part of the conversation. We see this, unfortunately, having worked in healthcare, where the physician or the healthcare provider is just asking questions at a computer, not really listening, kind of going through the checklist, which of course we have to do, but making sure that individuals are really having that opportunity to connect. And we can only do that if we have enough healthcare professionals, if it's funded, if people have a family doctor, right? The Ontario NDP has a plan to ensure that more and more Ontarians are having a family doctor The number of Ontarians without a family doctor has actually tripled since Doug Ford took over from the Liberals in 2018. It's shocking.
Ridiculous.
It was already a problem. It's just gotten worse under this man.
Because it was also a problem under Kathleen Wynne as well.
Yeah. I mean, it has been a problem. If you restrict wages on people, if you restrict wages on physicians, then ultimately they may choose to leave the province and go elsewhere. So making sure that physicians and other healthcare professionals, nursing staff feel very supported. Making sure that we are also investing, of course, not only in primary and acute care, but also in community-based care, in home care, in our long-term care sector. Making sure that we are supporting the mental health and well-being of our healthcare heroes who have been through so much over the last 5 years. All of these things are necessary. And the interesting thing is when you listen to Doug Ford talk, we have money for so many things.
So many things.
Here in Ontario. We can
tell us more about that.
Yeah.
Because I 100% agree with you, and I'm Lubaba's working for your campaign, so I'm sure
doing the research
she wouldn't be here because she has a
know.
public health background as well,
Yes.
and you are a scientist or whatever. So my question to you is, I agree with you. I think we need all those things, but people will always ask, how are we going to fund it? Do we have the money? And I want to talk, I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that.
So I think being a politician is about making priorities and about making choices. And Doug Ford has bad priorities and he's making bad choices. And Doug Ford, don't forget, is an employee of the people of Ontario.
Yes.
He only works because he has been elected to serve us. And don't forget, when he came into power, he said he was for the people. The question, of course, is which people, but that's a whole other question.
Ooh.
The people in the room are not feeling that.
No, and the people
That's
at the doors
so
are not
true.
feeling that either, right?
Yeah.
People are feeling they are being forgotten. They are not being centered in Doug Ford's Ontario. And what we are focusing on, unfortunately, instead, in this Ford nation that we've all been subjected to now for 7 years, is bad deals. So we're tunneling under the 401, which is like something a child probably said in the backseat of a car because it was taking too long to get home from their nonna's house, right? That makes no sense. We are tearing down a beautiful urban parkland and wasting $650 million, taxpayer dollars that we've all contributed
Ridiculous.
for a mega spa for a European company. We're destroying the science center.
When you said that about the spa, somebody that we know who works in organizing as well said that, I don't want to name their name because I don't know if they would want us to mention their name, but he basically said that Doug Ford wears these Canada is not for sale hat. Yeah. He said Canada's not for sale for Doug Ford, but Ontario definitely is. And it's crazy because like, why is a European European company being given $2 billion, I don't know how many billions of dollars
Our
for
tax
a spa.
dollars and a 99-year lease.
That is secret. We don't really know exactly where this came from. And for us, one thing that we're hearing a lot about the door too is like in Beaches East York in particular, because of our proximity to it, is that the Ontario Place deal, and I don't know so much going on about this story, but the one thing that I found most interesting or terrible, I guess, is that Doug Ford is legally required to provide parking at Ontario Place for the Therma Mega Spa. If he does not provide parking, he is on the hook. Not him. We, Ontario taxpayers, are on the hook for $2 to $3 million a year.
How many $1 million a year?
$2 to $3 million a year. So we have money. We have money to pay.
So we have money.
We have money.
There is
We
money
have
in
a
the
lot
room.
of money. So what he's done now is he's made up this fantastical story. Again, Doug Ford has a lot of ideas that we need to close the Science Center, right? The Ontario Science Center, an architectural gem, a community hub, and we're going to move it down to Ontario Place. Maybe at some point. This idea was first floated back in April 2023. Doug Ford then took it up and he's done it. He's fenced off our building. We have money for 24/7 security outside the Ontario Science Center, but we don't have money for healthcare. So this is a question we get at the doors, right? The Ontario NDP, you want to support public health, but where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from the taxpayers. The money that we all contribute should be spent wisely on services and supports that will benefit us all. It should not be going for a mega spa, a tunnel. Doug Ford just sent us out $3 billion of our own money back to us in checks.
The $200 checks.
To be fair, we have spoken to individuals here in our community who absolutely, that was a boon for them. They were really needed that money. They can buy groceries, they can pay off some bills, absolutely. But the idea is that, and especially from a progressive government perspective, we all pool our funds collectively to have a greater collective benefit.
Exactly.
And if we were to put that $3 billion into healthcare, what could we do at scale with that money? But the problem is too, right, that what Doug Ford was doing is prioritizing not homes in communities where folks are living, where folks can find that affordable housing, but these mega mansions out in green spaces, right? Remember the Greenbelt?
Yeah.
The disastrous deal he made with the Greenbelt. The Ontario NDP fought back. We won that. We forced him. We said, hands off the Greenbelt. Stop it with these dirty deals you're making, Doug Ford. We have enough space in the GTHA to build homes. We need to get shovels in the ground. We need to be building faster, and we need to be building a variety of different types of homes, right? We can't just be relying on these mega mansions.
As you're running for office, what is something you want other candidates and campaign staffers to keep in mind?
Oh my gosh, so running for office it's pretty intense, but it's also a team sport. So you literally cannot do it without incredible teammates like Lubaba here, like many of the other folks who put their lives on hold because they believe in our cause, they believe in our values, they believe in our mission, and they really want to push forward and make change here in Beaches East York. Yeah. You can only do that because you have a village of people supporting you. So I think my message to staffers is just gratitude. Oh. You know, people across the province, 124 ridings across the province. Think of all those folks who are just, regardless of party, they are just dedicating their lives to this cause that they believe in. It's really humbling, honestly.
Absolutely. You know, it's a lot easier to do this work when you have great candidates like Kate that we can really like morally support and know in good conscience that this is someone that we should elevate and should uplift in order to be able to get you to Queen's Park.
Thank you. It's just basically like mutual admiration society in this
office. Yeah, I'm not a campaign staffer, and I'm just here being like, wow, maybe I should have been.
I know.
There's still time to sign up. You can volunteer.
We do need 300 volunteers on E-Day.